What's up, Grow and Glow Fit fam? Welcome back to a new video. What's up? If you're new here, this is my channel where we share meal prep ideas, workouts, and other health tips while on a budget. If you guys do end up enjoying the video, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn your post notifications on so that way you can be notified every time that I post. We will be sharing new recipes every Sunday, so you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned and come back for more. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for this week's menu, we're going to be having like a quesadilla sort of style, or like an egg fold wrap. I'm not really sure what it's called, but it's going to be like a tortilla with an egg. We're going to fold it in half and it's going to have all the goodies inside. So looking forward to that one. And then of course, this one I'm sure a lot of people will love. It's going to be a chicken fried rice meal, high in protein and still nutritious and delicious. So a lot to look forward to this week. I know last week was a little bit more on the basic side, but it was still good recipes that you guys can always go ahead and check out. Anyways, so for our breakfast, you're going to need the following ingredients. You're going to need some tortillas, of course. I always recommend the carb balance ones because they're lower in carbs and higher in protein. We get 10 grams of protein, 110 calories, and it's keto friendly. You're going to need some eggs. I have some large eggs. And then I'm also going to be using egg whites. It cuts more than half the calories of what your regular eggs are, and you really don't taste the difference. Your cheese of choice, I'm going to be using sharp cheddar cheese, a tomato, an onion, a red and a green pepper, some spinach, and then some bacon. So that's pretty much all you're going to need. We're going to go ahead and start off with prepping our produce. So chopping up our veggies and washing everything so that it's ready for us to assemble our tortilla fold, our tortilla egg omelet fold. We'll come up with the name. You guys will see. So yeah, let's jump right into it. All right, so I went ahead and washed all my produce, cut my bell pepper in half because we're only going to be using half of our bell peppers. And for our tomato, let's use half as well. So obviously, you're gonna want to make sure to go ahead and decore these. All right, we got our peppers ready. So you're just gonna want to make sure to dice these into small pieces. Okay, so we went ahead and chopped up our peppers, our onion, and our tomato. Now I'm gonna rinse about 2 cups of my spinach so that way I have it ready to go. All right, and I went ahead and rinsed 2 cups of my spinach. You can use as much spinach as you like. A serving size is 4 cups and it's only 20 calories, so it's really good green that you can add in, and it's not gonna add much to your calories. Yeah, so that's all the produce that we're gonna need. Let's go ahead and get started on cooking our bacon. I am going to just cook it on the stove top just to make my life a little bit easier and not use so much time. So let's head over to the stove to cook that. While our bacon is cooking, we're gonna go ahead and start scrambling our eggs. I'm gonna do 10 whole eggs. Okay, so we have 10 eggs, and then we're gonna go in with 8 egg whites. Guys, if you don't mind egg whites, this is the way to go. It's only $4 and it is equivalent to 18 large eggs. I know eggs are super expensive right now, and honestly, this kind of tastes similar, so worth giving it a try if you haven't. So we have 10 whole eggs and 8 egg whites. I'm gonna just go in with some salt and pepper to season, half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, and half a teaspoon of salt. We're just gonna give this a good scramble. All right, so our eggs are all finished. We're gonna go ahead and just set these aside until we're ready to use them once our bacon is all done. All right, and now I'm just gonna weigh out 4 ounces of cheese so that I can get that ready for shredding. Okay, I'm gonna take my grater, my cheese, and just shred it down. You can always just buy shredded cheese and weigh it out. All right, bam, we have our cheese ready for when we start assembling our fold. All right, so I already went ahead and cooked some of my bacon. I'm gonna go in and just add the remainder of our bacon. So, right, and over here to my right, you guys see that I have all my ingredients ready to use. I am going to be crumbling up my bacon. I'm just going to let it dry out a little bit so that I can crumble it up. All right, our bacon's all done. I went ahead and set it aside on a paper towel lined plate. I'm just going to let it dry a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and wash out my pan. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of spray oil to our pan. We're going to add in a half a cup of eggs. So I'm using my 1/4 cup. I'm going to spread that out as evenly as possible. Add in your veggies of choice. Then you're going to take your tortilla and place it right on top. And I like to press mine down a little bit just to ensure that I'm getting it adhered to that egg. And you're just gonna let that cook for about a minute or so. Okay, now that a minute has passed, we're gonna go ahead and just give our eggs a flip. And then you're gonna go in with your shredded cheese. and your crumbled pieces of bacon. And then you're gonna fold your tortilla in half. And then what you can do is you can let it sit on the pan for a little bit to toast out the outer part, the tortilla. It's up to you how long you want to leave it on there. I usually like to just toast it up a little bit. As long as my cheese is nice and melted, I'm happy. And then all you're gonna do to finish it up is go ahead and grab a piece of aluminum foil with a paper towel, and you're gonna wrap it up. So this is basically what your finishing product is gonna look like. You're gonna go ahead and make sure to include that paper towel there. It's gonna help with the condensation, and then you're just gonna wrap it up the best you can. That's pretty much all that you guys are gonna be doing for breakfast. I hope that you guys give this one a try. It's gonna be delicious if you do, and I hope that you guys enjoy. Let's go ahead and hop right into our lunch. So for your fried rice lunch recipe, you're gonna need the following ingredients. You're going to need 4 eggs, some rice that has been cooked the night before. You're going to need some frozen peas and carrots, some scallion greens, some chicken or whatever protein of choice. You can do shrimp as well. I'm going to be doing some chicken fried rice. I have some white onion, some garlic cloves, butter, salt, pepper, soy sauce, and sugar. That's pretty much all you're going to need for this fried rice recipe. All right, let's go ahead and start by prepping our chicken so that it can be ready to sit in our marinade before we cook it. Okay, so I went ahead and diced up our chicken. I also went ahead and minced our garlic, or grated it down. I grated down my garlic. I showed this in the ingredients, but I have a chopped half an onion. This is a yellow onion, but you can also use white. And then I also went ahead and chopped up our scallions. So I separated my scallion whites from my scallion greens. This is gonna be used to garnish, and this is gonna be used to cook with. So that's pretty much what our prep work is looking like right now. We're gonna go ahead and set this aside so we can start on our soy garlic butter that's gonna be used throughout our rice and chicken. So I'm gonna set my chicken aside. We're gonna grab this bowl here. All right, so for our soy garlic butter, we're gonna start off with a half a cup of butter. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this whole stick. I'm gonna drop it in there. That's a half a cup. And don't be alarmed, we won't be using the whole entire thing for our recipe, but we will be using some. So if you have any leftovers, you can save it in the fridge and use it at a later time. And then you're supposed to use 3 cloves of garlic. I did 7 cloves of garlic, so this is about 7 cloves. I'm just gonna grab a good bunch here, probably about like half. And then we're gonna take our reduced sodium soy sauce and we're gonna do 2 tablespoons. All right, so we got the 2 tablespoons there. We're just gonna go ahead and you could take a spoon or a fork, whatever you wanna use, and just mix this up. Okay, so we have our soy sauce garlic butter. Let's go ahead and set this aside. Then we are going to start with our chicken marinade. So you can choose to do this in a bowl. I'm just gonna use a huge bag just to make it easier on me and have less dishes. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my chicken in. Then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper. And ideally you would wanna use white pepper instead of black pepper, but I forgot to get it at the store. So we're using black pepper. The black pepper has a way stronger taste than the white pepper. So I decided to just do half of what we're supposed to be doing for this. Then you're gonna add in some oil. So I have 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And then we're gonna do a tablespoon of soy sauce. Then I have this stir fry sauce that came with one of my HelloFresh meals that I didn't use. So I'm gonna go in and add a tablespoon of this as well for my chicken. And I'm sure you can buy like stir fry sauce, you know, at your local grocery store. Might not be the same exact brand, but it will be stir fry sauce. And that's pretty much all you will need for the marinade. So we're gonna mix this in. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and head over to the stove so that we can cook our chicken. If you want your chicken to marinate longer, you can always do this the day before and let it marinate overnight, or earlier that day and then, you know, do it later in the evening. But yeah, let's go ahead and cook this chicken. Okay, so I went ahead and added a teaspoon of olive oil to my pan, and my heat is on medium-high heat. I'm just gonna dump my chicken in there. And we're just gonna cook this until our chicken is nice and golden brown. All right, once your chicken is done cooking, you can go ahead and set it to the side on a paper plate so that we can get started on our vegetables. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started on our veggies. So we're gonna go ahead and add in some oil. I'll lower my heat a little bit to about medium. And then we're gonna add in our garlic. That's the remainder of my garlic that I had earlier. I'm gonna add in my onion. I'm also gonna add in my scallion whites. And then I'm gonna add in my peas and carrots. And we're just gonna saute these veggies until they're cooked through. Probably about, I would say, 8 to 10 minutes in total. All right, so we only have about 2 more minutes left on our clock for our vegetables. So I went ahead and pushed them to the side. We're gonna go ahead and start scrambling our eggs here. So we will be using 4 eggs for this. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just spray my pan a little bit here and drop in my eggs. And it's totally okay if your eggs mix in with the vegetables a little bit. Okay, once your eggs are pretty much cooked through, you can go ahead and combine it with the rest of your vegetables there. All right, and that's pretty much it for our vegetables. You can let it sit a little bit longer if you want your eggs to look a little bit more golden brown, but I think this is good for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this from my pan. And then I'm gonna switch out my pan to a slightly bigger pan. I might have to cook this in batches depending on how much rice I can fit in my other pan, because I don't want to overcrowd it and I want to make sure that everything gets nice and incorporated. So, okay, so I added in some oil to my pan. I'm going to go in and add in my rice. Okay, I'm going to start off with this batch first and then we'll go from there. You don't want to overcrowd my pan like I mentioned before. So we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of that soy sauce mixture. We'll do 1 tablespoon since we're kind of splitting our rice in half. So we'll start off with that tablespoon. Okay, I'm adding in the rest of my rice. Go in and add the other tablespoon of my butter. We're adding in a 1/2 tablespoon of soy sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and separate this big pan of fried rice so that I can mix everything well. And then I will show you the end results. All right, don't mind the rice everywhere, but that's pretty much the ending of our recipe. So I went ahead and finished off our rice. I don't know where I kind of left off with that because my camera cut out, but I went ahead and split up my pan into 2 so that way I can incorporate all the chicken and the vegetables with eggs without issues. So that's gonna be what your meal prep for your fried rice looks like. I know that it's not that dark compared to what the other compared to like what your typical fried rice will look like. If you want more if you want it to be darker, you can always add more soy sauce. That's kind of what gives it that color, but I like mine like that. I don't mind. So I'm gonna leave it at that point. We're gonna go ahead and just plate up our bowls, and then I'm gonna top it off with some scallion greens. And that's pretty much what it will look like for this week. I hope that you guys give this one a try and enjoy. And that's a wrap on this week's meal prep. These simple, satisfying, packed with flavor recipes will make sure that you keep coming back for more each day. I hope that you guys give these breakfast tortilla folds and fried rice a try. They're perfect for keeping you on track all week. If you found this helpful, or you have any cousins, aunties, uncles, whatever that you think will find this helpful, share the video with them so that way they can join the Grow and Glow Fit fam and we can all get fit and get stronger together. Make sure that you guys are turning on your post notification bell on so that you never miss a new upload. Until next time, I hope that you guys remember to grow stronger, glow brighter, and stay fit. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.